Today, we're going to talk about using custom objects to manage the sales process. I appreciate your attendance. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to enter them into the chat window, and then I will do my best at the end of my presentation to answer those questions, as many as I can, and for those that I can't answer, we will send out email responses to those questions. Again, my name is Ken Hansen. I'm a senior consultant with Kyazma Business Consulting. A little bit about me real quick. I have been working in Salesforce for 13 years. I was a beta tester at Salesforce back when it first launched, and I also have run as an admin on 6 different instances of Salesforce. This is and I'm always learning something new. Something very exciting about Salesforce is that there's always something new to learn. It's always very exciting. There's always a lot of changes. One of the things that I've learned over these various instances is how to use custom objects to manage sales process and to really run sales processes effectively. So what I'd like to do is talk for a minute about sales processes. I'll pull my screen up here and just discuss briefly in 4 slides what sales process means in Salesforce. Before I do that, I want to point out that today I'm talking about custom objects, and there's another great resource on our website at the recorded webinars link, which is on the screen, where Doug Merrill talks about how to leverage custom objects in Salesforce and gives a good example of how to build a custom object. I'm going to do that again today, but today I'm going to be really specifically focused on sales processes or managing the sales process. So in Salesforce.com, the sales process is really moving an opportunity through each stage. Many of you may know this already, so this might be a review, but when you hear sales process, what you're hearing and what's being described in context of Salesforce.com is moving us an opportunity from one stage to the next, from one probability to the next, moving it through each stage to getting it closed, won or closed, lost. The stages in Salesforce are standard stages, and they're standard for a reason. Salesforce has been helping organizations for over 13 years to manage their sales process, and so they have a lot of experience and a lot of best practice behind that. And so you'll see the standard stages are there's I think 8 or 10 of them in Salesforce, and they're pretty tried and true. So if you're new to CRM and you're new to setting up a sales process, those are pretty decent stages to start with. I would, in my experience, I've seen organizations run with 10 or 12 or even more sales stages, and really that starts to convolute the process and it starts to confuse sales reps. One of the things we want to always encourage is adoption of Salesforce.com by our sales team. We want them to enter information. We don't want them to be frustrated by it, and so in order to do that effectively, we try and keep our pick list to a minimum, and that includes sales stages. So I try to keep sales stages between 5 to 8 stages. And then Salesforce also allows us to attach forecast categories to the sales stage in the professional and up editions. And so what you do there is you determine which stages do you want to have omitted from your forecast and which stages do you want to have assigned to the other 3 categories. And we will talk a little bit more about that in the examples that I show today. So the reason why I like to use custom objects in sales process is because your managers, your VPs, your directors, they want to know what the story is behind the stage. If you say that I have a sales opportunity that's at a proposal stage, and there's a 60% chance that that's going to close, I want to know what's going on behind that. Or maybe it's at a short list stage. Maybe you have an opportunity that you believe as a sales rep, or what your sales rep believes is a short list stage. And when something is in a short list, by definition, that means that you're on a list with 2 or 3 other competitors to win that business. So that means you've got about a 1 in 3 chance to win the business, which means that you set the probability for that short list stage at about 35%. What managers and VPs want to know is what's behind that 35%. What do we need to do to get that business closed? And so custom objects allow us to capture the information to answer those kind of questions right there at the revenue generating event, right there at the opportunity level in an object that I call the sales execution plan. So let's move right into Salesforce and see how we can make an object, a custom object. I'll do this quickly, and I've already built one for the opportunity. So I'm going to show you how to build a custom object. I'm going to actually do it at the account level right now, but then I'm going to show you what we built in the opportunity so you can see how it works within a sales process. All right. So first thing you do when you're building a sales process is you go to, and by the way, this is in the Enterprise Edition. You can also do this in Professional, and so Professional on up. What we're looking at is going into the setup screen. Oh, sorry. I'm going to make this bigger. In fact, I'm going to make this my whole screen now. So when you're in the setup screen, you go to the create link and you go to objects. You can see that I've created a sales execution plan object, and we're going to look at that in a moment. You can also see that it's not been deployed. But we're going to build a new custom object right now. We're going to call this customer abstract. And then it's going to say, well, what's the plural of that? And we're going to just call it customer abstracts. We'll come back to why that happens in a second. Whenever I'm asked for a description in Salesforce, I try to always put something there, even if it's just a date. This is important from an admin perspective because you want other admins or other folks who have the ability to manage things at the admin level to see why you created something. So I usually put my initials. I usually put the date. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And then I put the reason why I'm doing this. This is an abstract for executive visibility into the customer account. Okay. I don't change this. There's no need to change this right now. You can if you want, if you start getting into more Visual Force type activity. I'm not a coder. The name, you can do this one of two ways. You can create a record name that says this is what it is, or you can create it as an auto number. I'm sorry. So it is a customer abstract. The customer abstract name is the account name. The display format, I like to do auto number. So the question is, what is auto number? And auto number kind of lays it out for you and says you can add year and date, and you can do an auto number that's generated. From a sales execution plan, I like to do auto number because you may have more than one sales execution plan in an opportunity. And so I'm going to use that example here. And I'm going to say we want to do the year, the day, and the month, and we want to start it at number 1. Okay, so this is going to show the year, the day, the month, and we're going to start at number 1. And we're going to have 300 as the or 999 is the amount that we can do. Maybe we'll do more. Maybe you'll want to do more. One of the nice things about custom objects is you can allow reporting to be done on custom objects. You can allow activities to occur. You can create new tasks and log calls at the custom object level. You can also track field history. I like that. And then I usually leave it in development when I first start because I want to work on it without anyone else using it yet. The other thing I like about these from a customer or from a sales execution plan is that we can add notes and attachments uh, into a custom object. And if you're interested in creating your custom object with tabs so that it shows up here, then you can also launch a new custom tab wizard. But for the purposes of this discussion, I'm not going to do that today. All right, then we click on save, and now we have a customer abstract custom object that's built. But right now, the custom object is not associated with anything, and we want to associate this custom object with a specific standard object. In the case of the sales execution plan, we want to do that with an opportunity. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you the opportunity custom object that I created. I'm going to take us back to objects, sales execution plan, and this sales execution plan is not deployed yet, so I'd like to deploy that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to go down here. I'm going to select that radio button and I'm going to hit save. Now the custom object is deployed, which means that everyone can use it. What I've done is I've gone in and I've created some fields because when you create a custom object, you can start to create custom fields. I'm going to refer you back to Doug Merrill's webinar where he shows you how to create some fields. What I've done is I've created fields that will build out a custom object field for sales execution plans. The cool thing about this is you can go in and you can create lookup fields so that you pull in the account. You can create formula fields so it auto-populates certain fields in your in your object or in your sales execution plan. You can come up with specific things that a sales execution plan might need, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. Let's go now to an opportunity and see how the sales execution plan is working and what it what it can accomplish. All right, so I'm going to try and get my screen back down to a regular size here. No. Oh, never mind. All right. So right now we're at the SPICO account level. All right, and in the SPICO account level, we have an opportunity. We're going to go to the SPICO test. Okay, and now at the bottom of this page, there is a spot here now to create a sales execution plan. Let me go back for a minute and tell you how it is that we were able to make a related list appear on the opportunity object. Okay, the way we are able to make a related list appear is when we create fields, we create a relationship, okay, a master detail relationship. And what I did here is I created a field called related opportunity. If I go in there to that opportunity for a minute, or into that field for a second, and show you this is a let me cancel this and show you how to actually do it, folks. My apologies. What we're going to do is we're going to go in and create a field. The way we want to do that is we want to go and create a master detail relationship field. Okay, you create the master detail relationship field, and we say that we want this to be related to the opportunity. Now, I've already created a master deal relationship, and you can only have one master detail relationship per object. So opportunity doesn't show up here anymore, but let's say it did. Instead, we'll say account for now. You go through and you create the field name, and it says it's already used. So I'll call it accounts just for kicks. You decide who's going to see that field. You say it's going to be attached to the sales execution plan layout, which has already been created. And it's also going to show up as a related list in the account layout. I'm not going to actually save this, but if you follow this same logic and instead of it being an account, it's an opportunity, well then now the related list for sales execution plans shows up in the opportunity. There's some pretty cool things that you can do with excuse me, I'm so sorry, my screen isn't cooperating with me. That happens sometimes in these events. There we go. Got it. It's cooperating with me again. Thanks for your patience. So what we're looking at is ways to auto populate fields and force the execution plan to be created. When you're in a sales process and you want your sales reps to enter data, you can build validation rules that require them to create an execution plan after a certain amount of stages have been met. If you look here for a second, I've created my own set of sales stages: the qualification stage, an execution plan, shortlist, proposal, legal review, final agreements. Each one of these, there's certain things that happen. There's certain steps that are recorded or that take place within these sales stages. And so we want to give a good view of what's happening at each of those. And so you can create a stage called execution plan. When you do that, you can then create a validation rule that says, and a workflow rule that says, in order for this opportunity to be moved to the next stage, an execution plan has to be created. I haven't actually built that validation into this example, but it's an option that you have that forces data to be entered. And it's something that we're interested in. We are interested in understanding what's happening at the sales levels at each sales stage. And so when you start out, you might see you might be at qualification. Qualification is only 10%. And so you're not really interested, you're not really interested in creating a sales execution plan yet. Maybe you are, maybe your sales reps are. The point is, at some point, they're going to be required to fill out a sales execution plan if that's what you want to do. You notice I've created a few stages here, like approved and age, or fields, and some of these are product fields and other things that I've created. But what we're looking at here specifically is the ability to manage the sales process. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna create a sales execution plan. If I'm the sales rep, there's a few things that I'm required to put in here. First of all, you can see that we've already populated the opportunity, but here's something else that we can do. We've got the account, and this is SPICO, and so we enter in the SPICO account, and then we also need a primary contact, and we're going to have Sarah Walker be the primary contact. And then there's also an executive sponsor. I'm going to be the executive sponsor here at Kyazma. That's an executive sponsor for a sales rep might be the CEO of his or her company. It might be their sales manager or their sales VP. Might be a sales engineer. Things like that. And then here's some fields that I just kind of entered in. These are high-level fields. You can get very detailed. You can add as many fields as you need to, and in as many forms. So a sales rep has a step one and a date, and we'll just put that in there. They put in notes here to describe what's happening with each step. Okay, and then maybe next week, then there's another step there, and then maybe here there's we push it out to the end of March, and then we continue to fill that out. Then we have a section for compelling reasons. You can add fields in here that say who are the primary sponsors, why should they be buying right now, what's the decision criteria behind their purchase, what will happen if they don't buy, what are the opportunity costs involved with not buying, and then a section at the bottom for manager review. This is where a manager can go in and review the status, look at the steps that are happening, look at the decision criteria, and offer some feedback on or maybe the manager has gone on a ride along, and they've been in a sales call with the sales rep. They can offer feedback there. Um, then you hit save, and what happens now? A couple things happen. One is that you've got a sales execution plan right here that's been created. It can be reported on. You can log calls from that sales activity or from that sales execution plan. You can create tasks and events, and you can attach files. These fields are purposely left small so that there's not a lot of cutting and pasting of email strings or or conversations. This isn't the place to do that. This is kind of an abstract. It's a high level view that gives information to to the people that need to see it. However, sometimes there's a need to put something more in there. So you can add notes at the opportunity level, at the execution plan level, and you can add, you can add it that way. You can add attachments. If you have to add a proposal doc or a quote doc, you can do that here as part of the sales execution plan. The sales execution plan also takes you right back to the opportunity. You can click on the link and it'll take you right back to the opportunity. And now you can see that the sales execution plan was created on Valentine's Day, and it's the second sales execution plan that our company has created. So you can start running reports on how many plans have been created. You can start running reports um, on where we stand with a deal. One of the things I like about this is you can put in the age of the opportunity. This opportunity I happen to create today, so it's 0 days old. But it's a nice thing to be able to report on, putting in the age of the opportunity. Something else I like about related fields and why we require some related fields is that you can go in and you can see, you can click right on these fields. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Sarah Walker's field, and you'll notice that at the bottom of Sarah Walker as a contact, there's a sales execution plan. So this comes in handy if you've got a contact that there may be multiple opportunities associated with. You can see the history of the sales execution plans that occur with that contact. If you have a lot of renewal business or if there's a lot of upsell, um, this is why we require a contact in the sales execution plan. Another thing I like about the sales execution plan is you can click on this and it'll take you right back to the plan. You can click on the account. Again, we've created a related field that relates the sales execution plan to the account, and so we have a related list at the account level. So if you have an account where you have multiple contacts or you have multiple deals going on, each deal has a sales execution plan. You can track your sales execution plans at the account level. If we go back to the opportunities, and finally, it still resides there at the opportunity because it is the plan that's designed to move that opportunity from lead to close one. So that, my friends, is a very high level and quick perspective on how to use custom objects to manage the sales process. I'd like to talk a little bit about sales process, and then we'll wrap it up, because you notice that I changed some of the sales stages, and so I wanted to go over how I did that, and I also wanted to talk about forecast categories. So what I've done is I've gone back into the setup screen, and I've gone down to the opportunities section under the customized section, and I'll go into fields. When you go into fields, then you can come down to the stage and you can click on the stage field. And what I've done is I've gone in and I've actually deleted the standard fields. And so that kind of goes against what I said earlier. They're standard for a reason. The point that I tried to make there is that Salesforce says that there's about 8 to 10 sales stages that you should follow, and that's good best practice. So I want to show you a little bit about how we can do this so you can prepare to set things up for forecasting. What you do is you go in and you create a new stage. Actually, let me start differently. We go in and we cancel. A standard field can't be edited as far as the label is concerned. I can't go in and I can't edit this, but maybe I don't want to have price quote show up as a 60% best case category stage. And so what I do is I delete that stage. I click on delete. It asks me if I want to. I say, yes, I'm sure. And then it says, do I want to replace it with an existing value? And in this case, I don't want to. But in some cases, you may have already created a new stage and you want to replace that. Then you would go in and you'd select whatever new stage you created, select that and replace it. But I'm going to say, no, I don't want to replace it with anything because I haven't created a new stage yet for proposal. I click save and it's taken a while to save. Interestingly enough, everything's moving slow right now. My apologies. All right. Now you can see the proposal price quote is no longer in my list at 60%. It's down here. Now I want to create a new stage. I just want to call it proposal. I don't want to call it proposal price quote. I just want to call it proposal. In fact, I want to call it, well, I just want to call it proposal. I want to give it a 60% probability because that's what we had it at before. And I want to put it into the best case forecast category. I'm going to use my best practice of putting my initials in. And I might put a description here of what the proposal stage entails. Does it entail, is it part of an RFP? Does it, what are the things you might be interested in putting that in the description here, because then it's there to be recorded. And then I hit save. And now you'll notice that it's at the bottom of my list, so I need to reorder it. And I want it to go above legal review, but after shortlist. Because once we've passed the shortlist stage, now we're in the proposal stage. We're handing them a proposal, and we've moved from what we would say is pipeline to best case. Anything that's in a 10% sales stage, I usually omit from the sales process because no one's interested in seeing a deal that's only at 10% if it's not going to close for 6 months. On the other hand, if it's going to close in a month, maybe we include it. It all depends on how your organization works and how their sales process is set up. Execution plan puts it at pipeline, and this is where we want to set up a validation rule or a lockdown that says that you can't move past this stage until you create an execution plan. Again, that's a topic for another day, but that does involve some workflows and some validation rules and some field updates behind the scenes to lock things down. It's kind of like an approval process. Then we move to shortlist at 35%. It's still in the pipeline because we have a 1 in 3 chance of winning that deal. Once we've won the deal, we move it into proposal, and we create it as a best case forecast. Now we think that if we were to say the best case scenario is that we'll close this deal, but we're not committed to it yet. Legal review, you might want to move that into a commit stage, but for now I keep it at best case. And then when we hit final agreements, where we've passed legal review, which can be really intense, we can get procurement involved. It can really slow the deal down, and it might not close in this quarter. We keep it at best case. But if it's past that and we're in final agreements and we think it's going to close in 2 weeks before the end of the quarter, then we commit to closing that and we put it at 90%. This is how you manage this. This is how you create the stages and then apply forecast categories to them. One more time, I'll show you how we do that. When you're in the stage, now that I've created this, I can't edit it anymore, but we're in the stage. This is where you select the pipeline, or the best case. This is the forecast category. And there are your sales stages. These sales stages show up in the opportunity. I'm going to go into an opportunity again. Go back to SPY Co, Test Co, or Test Opportunity. And here's where they show up. Shortlist proposal is now proposal and not proposal price quote. Sales execution plan is set up. Now, a sales execution plan might expire. You might set it up so that after the opportunity is aged to a certain spot, you're going to cancel that opportunity, or you're going to have to create a new sales execution plan. Maybe maybe you have a practice of parking opportunities, and when that opportunity comes back up, you need to create a new sales execution plan.